Listen closely. This is not a lecture. This is a weapon. This is not about storytelling. This is about domination, about seizing hearts, about bending minds, about carving your name into the skulls of memory itself. Ask yourself, when you open your mouth, do men truly listen, or do they wait, bored, restless, for their turn to scroll away? Do your words strike like steel on bone, or do they vanish like cheap smoke in the wind? Weak men think stories are entertainment, pathetic. They babble for applause. They chase approval like dogs chasing scraps. Their anecdotes die the moment the room empties, forgotten, worthless, weak. But the strong, the rulers, the visionaries, the Machiavellian princes, they know the truth. Storytelling is not decoration. It is a blade, it is fire, it is command. And that is what I'm about to hand you. 7 iron laws of storytelling, ranked from most powerful to least. These are not tips, not suggestions. They are laws, eternal, unbreakable, tested by kings, generals, prophets, and tyrants who bent entire nations with words. By the end, you will not merely tell stories. You will forge them into weapons. You will engineer emotions so raw that men bleed for you. You will crown your listener as the hero, so they chain themselves to your vision willingly, joyfully. You will forge conflict, so their loyalty ignites like wildfire. Machiavelli would sneer at your facts and charts. He would laugh at your explanations and your polite speeches. He would strip it to one ruthless question: do you want to be remembered or erased? Do you want your voice forgotten in seconds? Or do you want it to echo for centuries? Because these 7 laws will decide that. Master them, and your words will not persuade. They will command. Your story will not just be heard, it will be obeyed. And when that happens, you cease to be a speaker. You become something greater, a ruler of perception, a commander of obedience, a prince of minds. So I ask you, one final time, are you here to tell stories, or are you here to conquer with them? When was the last time you remembered a spreadsheet, a PowerPoint of charts? Never. But do you remember the insult that made you furious? The story that gave you goosebumps? The words that made you feel unstoppable, always? Because facts fade, emotion scars. Machiavelli understood. He wrote, "It is safer to be feared than loved. Fear digs deeper than logic. Love is fragile, choice. Fear is primal, survival. Fear stays. Emotion is not decoration. Emotion is a weapon." Logic whispers politely. Emotion kicks the door in. And yet, your pathetic habit? You keep begging people with data. You throw reasons. You throw explanations. You lecture like a desperate teacher. And they nod politely. Then forget you 5 minutes later. You think persuasion is about being understood. Machiavelli would laugh in your face. Persuasion is about being felt. A prince never inspired armies with numbers. He inflamed them with fear, pride, and glory. Caesar didn't win with logic. He won with loyalty, fear, and fire. Your audience is the same. Bore them with facts. They'll leave. Ignite their blood. They'll follow you into ruin. Ask yourself, do your words make them tremble? Do they make them burn? Or do they make them check their phone? Machiavelli's move? He would choose one dominant emotion: fear of loss, thrill of gain, pride in belonging. He would strip away every useless detail. He would ask one ruthless question: what must they feel? Not what must they know, because he who seizes the heart owns the mind. And when you own the mind, you own their obedience. Here is the first law: seize the heart, command the mind. Understand this well. Emotion is not entertainment, it is dominion. It is the first chain you wrap around the necks of others. Master your own ability to summon emotion, and you master the battlefield of perception. fail, and you will always play the role of the forgettable weakling. But when you wield this law, you no longer speak, you command, you no longer persuade, you enslave, you no longer argue facts, you dictate reality.
Hey guys, we're Strategy, based in Abu Dhabi. We use AI tools to make these concepts come to life, but it's our amazing team who goes deep, breaking down powerful philosophical ideas and showing how they really apply in everyday life. We hope you enjoyed today's content.
This is your first weapon, the foundation of power, the iron law that separates leaders from beggars. Remember it, breathe it, bleed it into others. Because if you fail to seize the heart, you will never command the mind. And if you cannot command the mind, you will never rule the world. When you listen to a story, what are you really listening for? Their pain, their triumph, number. You're secretly asking, where am I in this? What does this mean for me? And yet the weak make it all about themselves. They vomit their victories. They glorify their suffering. They scream, "Look at me," like children begging for attention. Nobody cares. A story without identification is a corpse, true but lifeless. Recognition is the spark. The moment someone whispers, "That's me, that's my fear, my hope, my fight," at that instant, they stop hearing you. They hear themselves through your voice, and when that happens, they chain themselves to your truth. Machiavelli knew, a prince survives not through nobles, but through the people. Nobles conspire, masses defend. If the crowd believes he is their voice, conspiracies shatter against him. Relatability is not kindness, it's a weapon. If people don't see themselves in you, you are a beggar. If they do, you are untouchable. This is why Machiavelli would never say, "I built this, I conquered that." That's arrogance, and arrogance breeds knives. He would say, "You will rise, you will conquer." He cloaked his story inside theirs. His triumph became their triumph. His struggle mirrored theirs. That's why they bled for him. Business, politics, leadership, same law. Say, "I need this," and people resist. Say, "This is how you win," and people obey. So crown them as heroes, cast them as protagonists. Because when they see themselves in your words, they don't just listen, they fight for you. And when they fight for you, you are no longer a storyteller. You are their commander. Here is the second law. Crown them as heroes of your story. Understand this. Weak men beg for attention by screaming their own names. Strong men command loyalty by whispering the audience's name back to them. Relatability is not about being liked. It is about enslaving the will of others through reflection. When you cloak your story in theirs, you don't just win listeners, you forge soldiers. You create zealots who defend your truth as if it were their own. This is how rulers secure thrones, how leaders bend resistance into obedience, how kings silence conspiracies before they even begin. Master this law, and you will never stand alone again. For when the crowd sees themselves in your voice, they will fight for you, die for you, and crown you. Not because you demanded it, but because they believe it was their choice. This is the iron weapon of storytelling. Crown them, and they will crown you. Deny them, and you will be forgotten. What makes a tale unforgettable? The hero's smile, their victories, number. It's the villain, the threat, the knife at the throat. Without it, there is nothing. Tension is the rope. Conflict is the fire. Ease is forgotten. Struggle is immortal. And yet you, pathetic, speak like everything is smooth, polished, safe, no danger, no blood. And that is why your words are weightless. Perfection is boring. Struggle hooks the throat. Machiavelli praised Ferdinand of Aragon for engineering wars. Conflict wasn't a risk. It was theater. He knew. A prince who inherits peace inherits rebellion. Because men crave struggle. Your cowardice is fatal. You hide from villains. You hide from enemies. But without a villain, your story starves. Introduce one, and suddenly your narrative has gravity. Machiavelli would sharpen the blade. He would name the enemy. He would raise tension until the people begged for resolution. And then he would present himself, or them, as the savior. He turned conflict into loyalty, struggle into chains. Without conflict, you are invisible. With it, you are unforgettable. Here is the third law: forge conflict, ignite loyalty. Etch this into your mind. Comfort is poison. Peace is weakness. Weak men worship calm because they are terrified of confrontation. But history proves one truth. Nations rise from war. Rulers are made through blood, and legends are born from struggle. If you want obedience, if you want loyalty, then you must give your people an enemy to hate, a threat to fear, a monster to destroy. Conflict is the forge where loyalty is hammered into chains. Your enemies are not accidents. They are assets. They give you the excuse to rally the people. They give you the stage to declare yourself their shield. They give you the battlefield on which you alone stand as savior. Master this law, and you are not merely telling stories. You are writing war scripts. You choose the villains. You define the danger. You hold the leash on fear itself, and by controlling the conflict, you control the loyalty it creates. Never forget, a man with no enemies is a man with no power. But the man who engineers conflict, who shapes fear and bends it to his will, that man does not simply lead. He rules, he endures, he becomes the indispensable commander that no one dares betray. Conflict is not chaos. Conflict is your throne. The weak speak in fragments. They scatter ideas like coins in dirt. No order, no path, just noise, and the audience leaves them to rot. Confusion is persuasion's grave. Machiavelli knew appearances must be staged. Mercy here, cruelty there, generosity when needed. Why? Because power is sequence. Power is timing. Show the wrong thing at the wrong moment, you lose control. Your story is no different. Structure is not decoration. It is the skeleton of authority. If you own the opening, the middle, and the end, you own the listener's mind. If you don't, they wander. And when they wander, they never return. Machiavelli would never allow randomness. He would design his speech like a campaign, open with shock, press with conflict, end with triumph. Each beat chosen, each pause calculated. Structure is the fortress of persuasion. Without it, your words collapse like sand. With it, your words enslave. Here is the fourth law. March with structure, rule with order. Remember this, chaos is not freedom, it is weakness. Only the undisciplined speak without order, and only the forgettable are ignored without consequence. Structure is not a courtesy to your audience. It is a chain around their attention, a fortress for their obedience. The weak man rambles, and he loses control. The strong man marches his words like an army. He knows where the attack begins, where the pressure tightens, and where the final strike lands. Every phrase is a formation. Every pause is a maneuver. Every ending is a conquest. Master this law, and you transform speech into siege. You stop sounding like a desperate beggar, and you begin sounding like a commander whose voice carves order into chaos. And when you dictate the sequence of what others see, hear, and feel, you dictate their very thoughts. Understand this well. Randomness is the language of peasants. Structure is the language of rulers. To march with structure is to march with power, and to march with power is to rule without resistance. Make them see it, smell it, taste it, or it never happened. The weak say words like success, victory, struggle, empty air, forgotten instantly. Strong men describe blood, sweat, iron, pain, and the image burns forever. Machiavelli praised Cesare Borgia not just for cruelty, but for theater. When Borgia executed his minister, he left the corpse hacked and the blade bloodied. The people remembered not the act, but the sight, the detail. That's how power imprints. Your story must not float. It must pierce. People don't remember abstractions. They remember images that slice their imagination open. Machiavelli would strip away vagueness. He would replace battle with the stench of iron and dust, replace victory with the roar as the gates fell. He knew one image enslaves better than 1,000 words. Details are weapons. Use them, because vague language bends like dull steel. Sharp images cut, and cutting is how you control memory. Here is the 5th law. Carve reality with sensory blades. Understand this. Vague men are forgotten. Precise men are feared. Abstractions dissolve into nothing, but sensory detail brands itself onto the mind like fire on flesh. This is why rulers stage executions in the square, not behind closed doors. This is why tyrants carve symbols into stone, not whispers into paper. What is seen, smelled, and felt cannot be erased. Weak speakers hope to be remembered by using noble words. Strong speakers ensure they are remembered by burning images into the mind. The sweat, the stench, the roar, the silence. That is how you chain imagination to your will. Master this law, and you no longer speak. You carve. You cut reality open and force others to see what you want them to see. Feel what you want them to feel. Remember what you demand they remember. You wield imagery not as description, but as domination. Never forget, the tongue of the vague is drowned in obscurity. But the tongue that paints blood and steel commands memory, and memory is power. Predictability kills. If they know what you will say, they stop listening. Surprise resurrects. Revelation enslaves. But you, pathetic fool, spill everything at once. You lay your cards on the table too early. You strangle your own suspense. Machiavelli warned, a prince must be a deceiver, a pretender. Show one mask, hide another, withhold, wait. Strike at the perfect moment. Why? Because truth revealed too soon is weak. Truth revealed at the breaking point is a hammer. In your words, silence is as deadly as speech. Hold back. Let them ache. Let them beg. Then deliver the revelation like a blade across the throat. Machiavelli would twist expectation. He would withhold. He would break the pattern. He would use silence like smoke and pauses like daggers. He would make the audience lean forward, desperate for his next move. Control revelation, and you don't just control attention, you control obsession. Here is the 6th law. Enslave with silence, strike with revelation. Remember this, silence is not emptiness. It is a weapon. The weak speak everything they know because they fear being forgotten. The strong conceal, distort, and delay because they understand that silence multiplies imagination. And imagination is always more terrifying, more intoxicating than truth. This law is the art of keeping men starving for your next move. It is the power of dangling truth like bait, drawing them deeper into your trap. Revelation is not about giving. It is about timing. The late strike enslaves. The sudden twist cements loyalty. The poise at the right moment makes your words echo louder than screams. Master this law, and you become more than a speaker. You become a puppeteer of attention. You stretch tension until men cannot breathe. You break expectation until they collapse into awe. You control when the blade falls, and in that control, you own their minds. Never forget, he who speaks everything at once is ignored. But he who withholds, who teases, who strikes only when the silence has rotted into desperation, that man is not listened to. That man is worshipped. Do you speak for claps, for praise? Then you are already dead. Applause fades like perfume in the wind. Myths endure, legends rule. You, weakling, beg for approval. You hunger for today's attention. And so your words die with you. Machiavelli did not write The Prince for his neighbors. He wrote it for centuries unborn, even condemned, even banned. His words carved themselves into history. Why? Because he wrote for eternity. This is the law of legacy. If your story dies with you, it was worthless. If it survives you, it is power. Machiavelli would strip his words into maxims, sharp, repeatable, immortal. It is safer to be feared than loved. A sentence that outlives kingdoms. He would lace his truths with archetypes, heroes, villains, betrayal, symbols older than language itself. And you, what will you leave? A speech forgotten in a week? Or a myth whispered for centuries? A campaign may win sales. A myth builds empires. A speech may command applause. A legend commands obedience across generations. The man who speaks for the crowd dies with the crowd. The man who forges myth becomes untouchable. Here is the seventh law. Forge myths, erase mortals. Understand this. Applause feeds the insecure, but eternity crowns the ruthless. Weak men chase approval like dogs chasing scraps, desperate for recognition in the moment. But strong men carve their words into steel, sharpen them into maxims, and hurl them across centuries like weapons that never dull. To master this law is to rise above time itself. You are no longer a speaker on a stage, no longer a leader in an age. You are a force that survives ages. You are not remembered because you spoke well. You are remembered because your words became scripture. Your name becomes shorthand for power. Your principles echoed by men who never met you. Your myth outliving kings, nations, and empires. This is the final battlefield of storytelling. Not the moment, not the crowd, not the echo of claps, but the eternity of legend. When you speak, do not ask for applause. Ask for immortality. Do not craft speeches, forge weapons. Do not leave moments, leave myths. Never forget applause dies, legends conquer, and he who forges myths does not simply live, he rules forever.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the original books and resources we used today. We'll see you in the next one.